Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Wine. Welcome back to art class. Today we will continue work with our imaginary animals, and today we're going to be working with paint. So I want you to have on hand your imaginary animal that you drew in class last week. I also want you to think about the class discussion that we had about the Chinese paintings of different animals. And what did we discuss in class when we looked at them? When we looked at these animals, one thing that we noticed is that there is not any color in the animals. There might be some color in the red stamps around the animals, but the animals themselves are just black and white. So today when we paint, we're only going to be using black and white. We also discussed with these animals different types of lines that we saw, and we also discussed different textures. Remember, a texture is the way something feels. And so an artist can oftentimes use different kinds of lines to create different textures in different animals. So today the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to be experimenting with our paint to see what kind of marks we could make. But as you're making those marks, I want you to be thinking about some different kind of textures that you might want to be creating in your animal. Do you have parts of your animal that look furry or hairy or fluffy or bumpy? Does your animal have scales? Does it have sharp pointy teeth or parts that are sharp and prickly? All of those are different textures that we could experiment with. So today you will need a thick white sheet of paper with your name on the back. Today you will also need a paintbrush. Think about what we know about the paintbrush. When we hold a paintbrush, we never touch the bristles, and we should always hold our paintbrush like we hold a pencil. You might want to hold it closer if you're trying to paint a very small detail, or you could hold it further back if you want to paint a long gestural line. And today, we will all be using black tempera paint. Tempera paint is that black paint. It's already like a liquid, so I don't need any water today. Now, the first thing I'm going to do today is I'm simply going to use my paintbrush on my paper to see what different kinds of marks and what different kinds of lines I could make. You can think back to the first day when we were doing our line chart, and you can also think about some of those different textures that we were discussing. So all I need to do is just dip my paintbrush in the paint. Then I can just sort of experiment making different lines. What does it look like when I press the brush down hard and I get a thick line, or that line starts to run out? What does it look like when I barely push the tip? And I just want you to spend a few minutes on your page seeing what kind of different animal type textures you could create. Think about different kinds of lines you can create. Those sharp teeth, or if I turn this upside down, it could look like some sharp teeth. And you're just going to fill your paper up with some different kinds of lines and shapes to create those different textures. Remember, as you run out of paint, you can just go back, dip it in, and get more paint. Notice what happens if the paint is really thick, or if I paint over it a few times, I might be able to make a color or an area that's a little darker. So you're just going to take some time to experiment. Long lines, short lines, what kind of straight lines you could make. And then you'll be ready to move on to creating your animal. I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope you have fun experimenting with the different kinds of marks you can make with your brush. Think about the different sort of textures it can show. And then when you're ready, you can move on to your animal painting. Have a wonderful week. And until next time, keep on creating.